You want to know about Dominic Vega? That human? Grok'Thar leaned back in his chair, three of his eye stalks scanning the room while the fourth fixed on me. Hey, what a question. But I suppose someone should document the truth before history gets it all wrong. The cantina buzzed with the usual mix of species, conversations in 20 languages merging into white noise. Grok'Thar's gray-green skin wrinkled as he signaled the server droid for another drink. I met him before he became, well, what he is now. Back when Ceres Station was nothing but a mining outpost circling that worthless rock between Mars and Jupiter. Humans called it the Belt, such simple creatures with their simple names. Grok'Thar's laughter sounded like bubbles popping in thick liquid. They hadn't even colonized their own system properly. Can you imagine? Still squabbling over resources when the rest of us had been traveling between stars for millennia. The server droid brought his drink, some fermented purple concoction that smelled like battery acid. Grok'Thar downed half of it in one gulp. The Galactic Council had rules about non-intervention with developing species. But rules never stopped anyone from making profit, did they? So we traded with humans. Gave them scraps of our technology for their raw materials and labor. Ceres Station became our primary trading post in their system. His eye stalks quivered with what I recognized as disgust. What a cesspool. Cramped corridors, recycled air that stank of too many bodies and not enough filters. The humans who ran the place lived in the central hub, clean quarters, decent food synthesizers. But the workers? Stuffed into the outer rings where radiation shielding was minimal. That's where Dominic grew up. Outer Ring D, Level 7. The worst of the worst. I activated my recording device. This would make an excellent documentary. His mother worked maintenance on the docking bays, Grok'Thar continued. Father died in a mining accident when he was young. Not uncommon there. I only noticed him because he kept showing up at my cargo ship asking questions about the hyperdrive. Annoying little pest, maybe 14 Earth years old. Grok'Thar took another drink, all four eye stalks now focused on some distant memory. Most station kids were dull-eyed from malnutrition and radiation exposure, but this one, sharp, always watching, always listening. I told him to go away, obviously. Who wants some human child hanging around? But he kept coming back. A fight broke out at the other end of the cantina, two Vexorians arguing over a gambling debt. Grok'Thar didn't even flinch as security droids rushed to break it up. One day I caught him inside my ship. Should have reported him. Theft of alien technology was punishable by death under Council law. But he wasn't stealing. He was fixing my auxiliary power converter. He fixed it better than the certified mechanics on Proxima Centauri. Grok'Thar laughed again, slamming his drink down hard enough to slosh liquid over the table. So I hired him. Against regulations, of course. The human authorities didn't care. One less mouth to feed in the slums. And Dominic? He soaked up knowledge like those absorbent cleaning creatures from Betelgeuse V, but within 2 standard years he knew my ship better than I did. The cantina door hissed open, and a group of Arcturian traders walked in. Grok'Thar lowered his voice. That's when things on Ceres Station started changing. The human authorities raised docking fees. New inspections. Delays, bad for business. The council representatives complained, but the humans just smiled and pointed to their sovereignty agreements. He leaned closer to me. Then ships started having problems. Mysterious malfunctions. Navigation systems going offline. Communication arrays failing. Nothing fatal, just inconvenient. The Vanguard Corporation, they ran Ceres Station, claimed no responsibility. Blamed it on solar flares, micrometeoroids, the usual excuses. But the timing was suspicious. Problems always happen to traders who refused to pay the new fees. I felt a chill down my spinal ridge. Are you suggesting sabotage? Not suggesting. Knowing. Grok'Thar's skin turned a darker shade of green, but caught Dominic leaving the docking bay of a Rigelian freighter one night. The same freighter that reported navigation failure the next day. Your apprentice was the saboteur? That's what I thought. Confronted him immediately. Threatened to turn him over to Council security. But he just looked at me with those strange human eyes and said, "They take 80% of what my mother earns. They charge her for air, for water, for the privilege of living in a radiation-soaked box. What would you do?" Grok'Thar shook his head slowly. What could I say? The boy was right. Vanguard Corporation was bleeding the station workers dry. The sabotage was just leverage, a way to make the off-world traders pay higher fees, which meant more money for Vanguard, but also marginally better conditions for workers. Did you report him? No, I helped him. My recording device nearly slipped from my grasp. You what? Taught him better techniques, less detectable methods, ways to make it look like genuine mechanical failure. The boy was smart, but I had 3 centuries of experience across 17 star systems. Outside the Cantina viewport, a passenger liner departed from the spaceport, its engines glowing blue against the black. For 6 months we ran our little operation. Dominic handled the sabotage. I negotiated with Vanguard, offering to help identify the problems for a fee. Vanguard got their money, traders got their ships fixed, workers got slightly better conditions, and we skimmed enough to make it worthwhile. Grok'Thar's skin patterns shifted to what I recognized as the equivalent of a nostalgic smile. Then came the Arcturian delegation, high-level council representatives on an inspection tour. Their ship was top of the line, with security systems we couldn't bypass. Should have left it alone. But Vanguard wanted to squeeze them for diplomatic concessions. He finished his drink and motioned for another. Dominic said he had a solution. Something about the water recycling system. I told him it was too risky, but he went ahead anyway. Next morning, every toilet on the Arcturian ship backed up simultaneously during their breakfast meeting with Vanguard executives. Despite myself, I laughed. Not funny. The Arcturians were furious. They demanded an investigation. Brought in Council security with their truth scanners and neural probes. Vanguard executives were terrified of being implicated. They needed a scapegoat. The server droid brought Grok'Thar's fresh drink. He stared into it for a long moment. They arrested Dominic's mother, charged her with sabotage, conspiracy, treason against humanity. All lies, of course. She knew nothing. But they threatened to space her unless Dominic confessed and took full responsibility. What did he do? What could he do? He was 17. He surrendered. I tried to help him escape on my ship, but Vanguard had frozen all departures. The trial was a sham. No evidence required with a neural probe. Grok'Thar's eye stalks drooped. They sentenced him to 20 years in the asteroid mines. Hard vacuum work with minimal protection. Essentially a death sentence. His mother was relocated to Mars colony as our rehabilitation, never saw her again. But he survived, I prompted. More than survived. The mining operation was on Ceres itself and several nearby asteroids. Dangerous work, setting charges, extracting ore, operating heavy machinery in vacuum. Most humans lasted 2 years before radiation poisoning or accidents claimed them. Grok'Thar leaned back, his voice dropping even lower. 3 years into his sentence, the mining operation on asteroid XC-22 went silent. No communications, no ore shipments. Vanguard sent a security team to investigate. They never returned. A cold feeling spread through my thorax. What happened? Revolution happened. Dominic had united the prisoners. They overwhelmed the guards, took control of the mining equipment, the shuttles, everything. But instead of trying to escape, they dug deeper into XC-22. What were they looking for? Grok'Thar's eyes gleamed. Not looking, building. You see, Dominic had memorized every technical manual, every engineering schematic he'd ever seen on my ship or others. And what do mining operations have access to? Raw materials, energy sources, fabrication equipment. My recording device pulsed with anticipation. They built a ship, not just any ship, something new, a hybrid of human ingenuity and stolen alien concepts. When Vanguard realized what was happening, they sent their entire security fleet, 5 armed corvettes against mining shuttles and improvised weapons. Grok'Thar's skin rippled with what might have been admiration or fear. The battle lasted less than an hour. All 5 corvettes disabled, crews stranded but alive. Dominic's ship, he called it Rockhopper, wasn't even scratched. It had some kind of shield technology no one had seen before. Something he'd invented by combining principles from different alien systems. What happened next? He freed the other mining operations, consolidated control of the entire belt within weeks. Vanguard screamed to Earth for help, but Earth governments were dealing with their own problems. By the time they responded, Dominic had established what he called the Belt Collective, an independent human faction controlling all resources in the asteroid belt. The cantina had grown quieter as evening patrons departed. Through the viewport, stars glittered against endless black. The Council was furious. Humans weren't supposed to advance this quickly. Some species demanded military intervention, wipe out this upstart colony before they became a threat. Others wanted to establish diplomatic relations, bring them into the galactic community under strict oversight. Grok'Thar finished his second drink. While they argued, Dominic built more ships, improved his technology, established bases on the moons of Jupiter and Saturn, all with minimal resources and maximum efficiency. How did he manage that? That's what everyone wanted to know. His ships shouldn't have worked as well as they did. His station shouldn't have been able to support so many people with such limited resources. But somehow he made impossible things happen. A notification chimed on Grok'Thar's communication device. He checked it and frowned. I should wrap this up. The Council finally decided on a show of force, sent a diplomatic mission backed by a battle cruiser to Ceres Station, now the capital of the Belt Collective. Standard intimidation tactic, the kind that had worked on 100 other emerging species. Grok'Thar's eye stalks quivered with what I now recognized as nervous laughter. The battle cruiser never made it past Jupiter. Just stopped working. Every system simultaneously failed. The diplomatic vessel was allowed to continue to Ceres. From there, sitting in what used to be the Vanguard Corporation executive office, was Dominic Vega, no longer a skinny teenager, but a man of 25 with eyes that had seen too much. What did he say to the diplomats? He proposed an alliance. Not submission alliance, equal terms. He offered technological exchanges that would benefit both sides, and to prove he was serious, he gave them the schematics for a new type of gravitational stabilizer that solved problems our scientists had struggled with for centuries. And the Council agreed. Some members did. Others wanted war. That's when Dominic revealed his leverage. Grok'Thar looked around nervously before continuing. Remember how I taught him sabotage techniques? He'd perfected them. And while the Council argued, he'd sent agents throughout Council space, placing dormant devices on thousands of ships, stations, and key infrastructure points. My recording device nearly overheated with the implications. He could have crippled half the Council worlds with a single command. Not destroyed, Dominic never wanted destruction, just stopped. The same way the battle cruiser had been stopped. Blackmail, I whispered. He called it negotiating from a position of strength. The Council called it many things, none polite. But in the end, they recognized the Belt Collective as a sovereign entity and established formal relations. Grok'Thar stood, preparing to leave. That was 15 years ago. Now the Belt Collective has expanded throughout the solar system. Earth itself depends on Dominic's technology and resources. And the Council? They pretend he's just another minor power, but everyone knows the truth. Which is? Grok'Thar leaned close, voice barely above a whisper. No ship jumps to hyperspace without components built in collective factories. No station maintains artificial gravity without Dominic's stabilizers. He controls the most critical supply chains in the galaxy, and he did it all without firing a shot in anger. He straightened up, adjusting his environment suit. Now he's coming here to this station. First official visit to Council headquarters. The diplomats are nervous. The security forces are on highest alert. And I. You what? Grok'Thar's skin turned a pale yellow, the color of apprehension. I received a personal invitation to attend the reception. After all these years, he remembered the old alien who taught him a few tricks. As Grok'Thar walked away, I called after him. Do you regret helping him? He paused at the door, eye stalks swiveling back to me. Regret? No, fear what comes next. Yes. Because there's something no one talks about. The reason his technology works so well, why his ships can do things ours cannot. What's that? Dominic Vega found something in those asteroids. Something that wasn't supposed to be there. Something older than the Council itself. The door hissed shut behind him, leaving me alone with my recording and a story far from complete. The Grand Council spire loomed over Central Plaza, its twisted architecture deliberately intimidating to visiting dignitaries. I arrived early, press credentials hanging from my neck pouch, determined to witness history unfold. Journalist Zarl Kree? A Flaxian security officer approached, scanner in hand. You are cleared for the observation deck, Section 3. There are no recording devices beyond this point. I surrendered my equipment with reluctance. The official council feed will provide approved footage, the officer added, mandibles clicking with what might have been amusement. The observation deck teemed with representatives from 200 worlds. Journalists, diplomats, curiosity seekers, all gathered to witness the human who had forced the mighty Galactic Council to treat him as an equal. Quite the spectacle, isn't it? The voice beside me belonged to Lyri Tius Uvan, cultural attach from Proxima Centauri's outer colonies. Half the beings here hope to see him humiliated. The other half want trade agreements. And you? I asked. Her forearms performed the graceful shrug unique to her species. I lived on Earth before the Belt Collective rose to prominence. Humans are unpredictable. Most council species evolved through careful, methodical progress. Humans? They stumble forward, fall, get back up. Then somehow leap 10 steps ahead while everyone else is still planning their next careful step. The chamber lights dimmed, signaling the ceremony would soon begin. Through the transparency, we could see the vast council chamber below, with its 100-meter table carved from a single tree that once grew on a now-extinct world. There's Grok'Thar, Lyri whispered, pointing to a gray-green figure taking a seat at the far end of the chamber. They say he was Vega's mentor. More than that, I replied. My words froze as the massive doors swung open. The council chamber fell silent as Dominic Vega entered. He wasn't what I expected. For a being who controlled the fate of civilizations, he appeared ordinary. Average height for a human, perhaps 50 Earth years old. Black hair streaked with silver, tied back simply. No ceremonial armor or elaborate robes, just a plain dark blue uniform with a small insignia on the collar, a stylized asteroid with a pickaxe. Behind him walked 4 humans, 2 men, 2 women, similarly dressed. No weapons visible, but they moved with the alert precision of bodyguards. The 4 hammers, Lyri murmured, be his inner circle. Former mining prisoners like him. That's Eliza Kwon on the left, engineering genius. Beside her, Omar Alfiez, strategic operations. The tall one is Paulo Tavares, security chief. And the red-haired woman is Fiona Mackenzie, diplomat and negotiator. Supreme Counselor Jean Va rose to greet them, 6 limbs extended in the traditional welcome. The Galactic Council recognizes Dominic Vega, director of the Belt Collective, and welcomes him to Harmony Station. Vega nodded. Thank you for the invitation, Supreme Counselor. The Belt Collective appreciates this opportunity for dialogue. His voice was deeper than I imagined, with an accent I couldn't place. Calm, measured, not the voice of someone overawed by his surroundings. What followed was an hour of diplomatic formalities, introductions, statements of mutual respect, acknowledgments of sovereignty. The audience grew restless. We hadn't come to watch politicians exchange pleasantries. "Is that it?" Someone behind me grumbled. "Where's the confrontation we were promised?" As if on cue, Councillor Drav of the Ikthari Dominion rose from his seat. 12 feet of scaled muscle and ancestral arrogance, the Ikthari had ruled their sector for millennia before joining the Council. "Director Vega," he rumbled, voice amplified to intimidating levels. "While we welcome peaceful relations with the Belt Collective, certain matters require clarification. Our intelligence suggests your people have been conducting unauthorized archaeological excavations on Kuiper Belt objects designated KB 472 and KB 901. The chamber tensed. Those designations were familiar to anyone who followed galactic news, sites of mysterious energy readings that the Council had quarantined centuries ago. Vega showed no reaction. "The Kuiper Belt lies within solar system boundaries, Councillor. It is recognized by Treaty 7289. All bodies beyond Neptune's orbit fall under Belt collective jurisdiction. Those specific objects were placed under Council protection before your species discovered fire," Drav snarled. "The quarantine predates all current treaties." Fiona Mackenzie leaned forward to whisper something to Vega, who nodded almost imperceptibly. "We acknowledge the Council's historical interest in these objects," Vega replied. "However, our scans indicated active energy signatures requiring investigation. When we discovered the nature of the artifacts, we immediately implemented containment protocols." Supreme Councillor Jean Vier's appendages rippled with concern. "What artifacts?" "Perhaps this discussion should occur in closed session," Vega suggested, glancing toward the observation deck where hundreds of eyes watched. "No." Councillor Drav slammed a massive fist on the table. "The Ikthari Dominion demands full disclosure." "What did you find?" The 4 humans flanking Vega shifted positions slightly, a defensive formation I recognized from military briefings. Tension crackled through the chamber. Vega remained composed. "Very well. We discovered technology belonging to the Precursors." The chamber erupted. Delegates leapt from seats, shouting questions or denials. Security forces moved closer to the Council table. In the observation deck, beings pressed against the transparency, straining to hear over the chaos. Silence. Supreme Councillor Jean Vier's voice cut through the tumult. When order returned, she fixed all 6 eyes on Vega. "That is a serious claim, Director. The Precursors are mythological beings from pre-Council folklore." "Not mythological," Vega replied. "Just very, very old, and not entirely gone." He nodded to Paulo Tavares, who placed a small device on the table. It projected a hologram, an intricate mechanical construct unlike anything in current galactic technology. Curves where angles should be, materials that seemed to shift between solid and liquid states, components that appeared to occupy multiple positions simultaneously. "This is a partial neural interface recovered from KB 472, Vega explained. Carbon dating places it at approximately 4 million years old. Its quantum architecture is beyond our current understanding." "Impossible," whispered Lyrie beside me. "No technology could survive that long." Councillor Drav's scales had darkened to deep crimson, a sign of rage in Ikthari physiology. "You tampered with Precursor technology? Do you have any idea of the danger?" "There are reasons those sites were quarantined." "We are well aware of the risks," Vega replied calmly. "Just as we are aware that the Council has been studying similar artifacts in secret for over 2,000 years. The silence that followed was deafening. Supreme Councillor Jean Vier's appendages went completely still, a sign of extreme shock among her species. "How could you possibly know that?" she finally asked. Vega's expression remained neutral. "The artifacts communicate with each other across vast distances. When we activated the first one, it led us to others, including those in Council repositories on Tau Ceti Eve, Proxima B, and 14 other locations I could name." I felt Lyrie stiffen beside me. The implications were staggering. The Council has studied these artifacts for millennia, Vega continued, yet made little progress understanding them. Do you know why? No one spoke. The humans' quiet confidence had transformed the dynamics of the room. Because you feared them, Vega said. You treated them as dangers to be contained rather than tools to be understood. Your scientists worked under restrictions so severe that discovery was impossible. Those restrictions exist for good reason, Councillor Drav growled. The last species that attempted to utilize Precursor technology destroyed 3 star systems before we intervened. The Zilani, Vega nodded. We found records of their experiments in the artifact network. They failed because they tried to weaponize technology they didn't understand. And you understand it better? Supreme Councillor Jane VA asked. For the first time, Vega smiled. Not entirely. But we have learned to communicate with it. He gestured to Eliza Kwan, who activated a second hologram. This one showed a complex mathematical sequence, equations flowing and transforming. In Precursor mathematics, Vega explained, the universal language. We didn't try to dismantle their technology. We asked it what it was designed to do. Asked? It. The Supreme Councillor's voice trembled slightly. The artifacts contain fragmented consciousnesses, Vega said. Not fully sentient, but responsive. Library systems, essentially. Once we established basic communication protocols, they began sharing information. This is how your technology advanced so rapidly, I whispered to Lyri. Why his ships can do things others cannot. Councillor Drav surged to his feet. This human admits to utilizing forbidden technology. The Icthari Dominion calls for immediate quarantine of the entire solar system until these artifacts can be confiscated and secured. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. Several councillors nodded vigorously. Vega didn't appear concerned. That would be unwise. Councillor. Is that a threat? Drav snarled. A statement of fact, Vega replied. The artifacts are integrated with our infrastructure now. Attempt to remove them, and critical systems throughout the galaxy will fail. You speak of your sabotage network? Another councillor called out. We have found and neutralized those devices. No, Vega shook his head. You found what we wanted you to find. The real integration is more subtle. The gravitational stabilizers used in every major council habitat, the quantum communication relays that coordinate your fleets, the medical regeneration chambers in your hospitals, all reverse-engineered from Precursor. Principles, manufactured in Belt collective facilities with key components that respond to commands from the artifact network. Horror spread across the chamber as the implications sank in. You have made the entire council dependent on technology you control, Supreme Councillor Zhen VA said quietly. Not I, Vega corrected her. We, the Belt Collective, and we have no desire to control anyone. But we will not be controlled either. He stood, his 4 companions rising with him. For thousands of years, the Council has hoarded knowledge, rationing technological advancement to maintain the existing power structure. You kept developing species-dependent and subservient, humanity included. His voice remained calm, but carried throughout the silent chamber. That ends today. We propose a new compact, open exchange of all Precursor knowledge through a joint research directorate, equal representation from all species, council and non-council alike, transparent development of technologies for the benefit of all. Or? Councillor Drav demanded. There is no or, Vega replied. This isn't a negotiation or an ultimatum. It's an invitation to a new future. Accept it or don't. The Belt Collective will proceed either way. But those who join us will thrive. Those who oppose us will stagnate. He nodded to Supreme Councillor Jean Va. We have prepared detailed proposals for review. My team will remain on Harmony Station for 20 standard days to answer questions and address concerns. With that, he turned and walked toward the exit, his 4 companions falling into step behind him. The massive doors swung open automatically, something they shouldn't have been able to do without Council security authorization. As Vega reached the threshold, Grok'Thar called out, "You never told me what you found in those asteroids." Vega paused, looking back at his old mentor. For a moment the diplomatic mask slipped, and I glimpsed the curious teenager from the slums of Ceres Station. "I found our future, Grok, and it's bigger than anyone imagined." The doors closed behind him, leaving the council chamber in stunned silence. Beside me, Leary exhaled slowly. "Well, that changes everything, doesn't it?" 3 days later, I found myself on a transport heading back to my home system, the events at Harmony Station still dominating every news feed in the galaxy. Opinions ranged from apocalyptic predictions of human domination to euphoric celebrations of a new galactic renaissance. As I settled into my quarters, my communication terminal chimed. An encrypted message, sender unknown. When I opened it, a simple text appeared. "The observation deck, Section 3. Recording devices prohibited. But we never checked for memory enhancements." "Did we? Your species' eidetic recall is quite remarkable. The galaxy deserves the unfiltered truth about what happened. My ship departs for Sol tomorrow. There's a place for a journalist who wants the full story, DV." Below was a docking bay number and access code. I stared at the message for long minutes, considering the implications. Leave my comfortable position to follow a human revolutionary into unknown territory? Risk Council censure to document whatever came next? My third heart made the decision before my brain finished deliberating. I began packing immediately. After all, how often does one get to witness the moment when the universe changes course? The miner's son from a Slum-Rock colony had rewritten the rules of galactic power without firing a shot. Now the stars themselves answered to him, or at least, to the ancient whispers he'd discovered among the forgotten rocks of his home system. Whatever came next would not be boring. And for a journalist with 400 years of covering council procedures, that alone was worth the risk. As I headed for the docking bay, I wondered if humans understood how thoroughly they had upended the established order. Probably not. That was their gift, moving forward without fully comprehending the impossibility of what they were attempting. The future belonged to those who could imagine it differently. And Dominic Vega, born in the slums of a mining colony, had imagined a future no one else could see.